She was one of the few black women to ever lead a billion-dollar startup team. Her rise wasn't built on privilege. It came from persistence, precision, and a mind wired for languages. 9 of them. But one morning, in a tense meeting that would determine the future of Uber's global operations, she froze. And within minutes, those same languages she'd learned as a child would save $500 million and change how the company viewed leadership forever. This is the story of Bozoma Saint John, the woman who turned words into power. Before the world knew her as Boz, she was simply Bozoma, the daughter of Ghanaian parents who had left Africa for a new life in the United States. Her childhood was split between continents. She lived in Ghana, Kenya, and the U.S., constantly adapting to new accents, dialects, and cultures. In her home, language was more than communication. It was survival. Her father, a professor, taught her to listen deeply, to understand not just the words, but the emotions behind them. By her teenage years, Bozoma spoke 9 languages, including Twi, Swahili, French, Portuguese, Spanish, and English. She didn't know it yet, but this skill, this ability to bridge worlds, would become her greatest advantage. Fast forward 2 decades. After working at PepsiCo, Apple Music, and later Uber, she had become a marketing powerhouse, known for her bold ideas and her human approach to business. In 2017, Uber was facing chaos, public backlash, internal scandals, and a collapsing reputation had shaken one of Silicon Valley's fastest-growing companies. When Bozoma joined as chief brand officer, many called her move impossible. Others said she was walking into a storm. She saw something else, a chance to rebuild trust from the inside out. It was 8 in the morning in Amsterdam. Uber's global leadership team was meeting with European regulators. The discussion? Data protection and cross-border operations, a deal worth $500 million in projected revenue. The stakes were high. One misunderstanding, one wrong word, could shut down Uber's access to key European markets. Bozoma sat across from officials from France, Germany, and Spain. The translators were running behind. The meeting began in French. Bozoma froze, not out of fear, but focus. She understood every word. A French official made a comment, offhand but sharp, one that didn't make it into the translator's version. He implied Uber's American executives were tone-deaf to European values. The room shifted. Tension rose. Bozoma smiled. Then, in fluent French, she responded calmly, "Je comprends parfaitement vos préoccupations. I completely understand your concerns." The room went silent. Then the tone changed instantly. She went on, in French, to explain Uber's new safety and data transparency protocols, using precise, region-specific terminology that even local teams struggled with. It wasn't just translation, it was connection. When the Spanish delegation raised their issues, she switched languages again. When the German team interrupted, she moved smoothly into German, acknowledging their concerns. The translators had stopped talking. Everyone was listening to her. An executive who attended that meeting later said, "It was like watching a conductor lead an orchestra. Every word, every tone, perfectly placed." By the end of the meeting, Uber had secured approval to operate under revised guidelines, saving hundreds of millions in potential losses. But more importantly, something deeper had changed. For the first time, many in the room saw an American executive who didn't dominate. She understood. That moment wasn't just about business. It was about representation, leadership, and the power of cultural fluency in a global economy. Bozoma's multilingual ability did more than bridge languages. It built trust. In a company struggling with reputation, that trust was priceless. Her story revealed something larger about modern leadership. In a world of artificial intelligence and automation, empathy remains the most valuable skill, and empathy often begins with language. Studies show that leaders who speak multiple languages tend to make better cross-cultural decisions. They navigate global teams with more understanding and less bias. Bozoma embodied that principle, but it also mattered who she was, as one of the few black women in executive tech leadership. Her presence alone challenged assumptions. Tech has long struggled with diversity at the top. In 2017, only 2% of Silicon Valley executives were black. Even fewer were women. So when Bozoma walked into those boardrooms, she wasn't just representing Uber, she was representing every overlooked voice. The ones told they didn't belong. Her success reminded the corporate world that intelligence doesn't have one accent. That leadership isn't defined by how loud you speak, but by how well you listen, and that sometimes the quietest skill, the ability to understand, can move millions. After that meeting, Bozoma continued to transform Uber's global brand. She reshaped its image, grounded it in human storytelling, and inspired a generation of marketers to lead with empathy. Later, she would join Netflix as Chief Marketing Officer, continuing her journey as one of the most influential voices in corporate storytelling. But when asked what she remembers most from her time at Uber, she didn't mention the campaigns or the headlines. She mentioned the languages, the connections, the moments where understanding changed everything. Her story stands as a reminder that leadership isn't about power. It's about presence, not about speaking the loudest, but hearing the most. Because sometimes, the difference between failure and a $500 million victory is a single sentence, spoken in the right language. This was the story of Bozoma Saint John, the multilingual CEO whose words built bridges where walls once stood.